Thanks for checking out this tutorial. I'm going to show you how I would recreate this beautiful makeup application that Sophia Tilbury did on Phoebe Dynevor, which I think is how you say her last name, for the Met Gala red carpet. This is one of my favorite looks from the event. I love a natural makeup application. I think the lip color is beautiful, and I really think this is a perfect look for someone who might be going to an event this summer, whether it's a bride, member of the bridal party, or a guest for a wedding. So that's why I wanted to recreate this for you, and I'm going to show you how I would recreate this with long wear in mind. We know our makeup applications for our special event clients, the makeup has to last, so I will share some tips with you. Looking at the screen right now, we have Phoebe on the left and our model Sydney on the right. They kind of have a similar eye shape. I think Sydney's eyes are slightly deeper set, so I'm going to keep the lid area really light, bright. I'm going to do a shimmery shadow there, and I'm going to do a little bit of contouring on the outer corner with a taupe shadow. The brows in this look are very natural, so that's pretty easy to do. And then I'm going to show you how I do a long wearing stained lip, similar to the lip color that Phoebe has, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. Now, I didn't have time to actually get the lip color that Sophia Tilbury used, so I just chose a beautiful shade of a soft pink that I think would work with her undertone. And while we're on that topic, our model's undertone today is clearly very neutral. She is not yellow, not super cool. So all of the products I'm going to be choosing in terms of the lip color, the eyeshadow, they're going to be neutral as well, the blush, so that everything looks really harmonious on her skin. Let's get to the makeup application. I'm starting the skin prep with CARPE Sweat Absorbing Lotion as my first step. I usually apply this around the hairline, on the upper lip, and sometimes I'll go on either side of the neck where people can sweat, just on that lower part of the hairline. AVENE Soothing Eye Contour Cream. Her eye area was a little bit dry, so I wanted to choose something that was going to be nice and moisturizing. LANEIGE on the lips. And then I'm applying EMBRYOLISSE just on the center of the face where her skin was dry, being careful not to overlap with the sweat absorbing lotion. The sweat absorbing lotion does take away some of the luminosity of the skin, so I'm going in now with the Beauty Light wand in Spotlight from Charlotte Tilbury, and this gives a really nice glow under a natural makeup application. I do sometimes prefer this product on lighter skin tones versus the Hollywood Flawless filter because it's just more glowy and it looks really beautiful, especially for an event on the skin. I'm using Face Atelier foundation, which is very yellow, so I'm going to be taking away some of that yellow by mixing in a blue adjuster. I wanted to show you my mixing process. You can see I do this in very small amounts and then apply. Sydney's a perfect example of someone with a neutral undertone, and you can really see this in her neck area. Her shoulders are slightly tanned, but her undertone definitely neutral. I'm taking P.LOUISE Eye Base in shades 1 and 3. Now, because this look is all about longevity, I'm going to apply this eye base just on the outer 2/3 of her eyelid. And then you can also use this eye base to clean up that lower side of the brow, which is what I love to do. And of course, when you use this product, synthetic brushes are best. This is one of my favorite products for really long wearing eyeshadow, and I find this primer is excellent in warmer environments as well. It is eyeshadow time. I'm using, it's kind of a pinky taupe from one of the Tarte eyeshadow palettes, and I'll link you to the palette that I used. And I'm just applying this in the outer corner, and I'm being careful not to take it too close to her brow. I'm using this shade to define the eye and give some contrast with the lid, but I am being really careful not to overdo it, which is why I'm using such a small brush. And then I'm taking a deeper shade, still in a taupe from a different palette, and I'm just intensifying the outer corner. Same thing on the other side. I'm just being very careful not to apply the shadow too heavily. With someone that has deeper set eyes like this, it is something that you can go overboard on quite quickly, so try to use smaller brushes. And you can see that just gives a really nice definition. Last finishing touch with this taupe shadow, making sure it is blended right down into the lash line. Now I'm going to move to the inner corner. I'm applying some of the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize cream eyeshadow in Champagne. The reason I only did the outer corner with the P.LOUISE is because I don't like layering too many creams on the eyes. I find sometimes things can move around on the lids, things can start to crease, so that's why I didn't overlap. So I'm blending this in, and then I'm going to set this cream shadow with a powder highlighter. I know this cream shadow says it's crease resistant, but I have found in the past I can't trust this all the time. So anytime I'm using these cream shadows, I'll apply them and then I'll set with powder. And I'm going to set with an Hourglass highlighter from one of the palettes, which of course I will link you to. And this just is a beautiful glow on the eyes. There's not a lot of chunky glitter in this at all. It's just something that brightens the inner eye and keeps that lid nice and reflective. And I'm using this eyeshadow brush with no product on it just to kind of blend the edges of the shadow so everything looks very soft. To finish up the eyes, we're going to curl some lashes, and my model loves curling her lashes and she did a really excellent job. They are super curly. And just to brighten the lower waterline, I'm using the P.LOUISE eyeshadow base in shade 1 on a tiny flat synthetic brush. And I just quickly stamped the product along the lower waterline. Really quick. This model was a little bit sensitive, but we got through it. Now I'm going to apply a single lash cluster. These are the velour extensions. They can be applied under or over the lash. Now the first lash popped in really easy, and I pre-curled them because her lashes were so curly, and that helps to kind of set the false lash over top the natural lash line. The second lash that I put on, you can see I didn't curl it enough, so it's being pushed up by her natural lashes. When I'm doing these recordings, I have to tell you, I can very rarely see what's going on the right side of my model's face. So this is something that is probably going to drive you crazy because it was driving me crazy when I was editing it, but I fixed it right after we were done filming. Picking up where I left off with the foundation, just neutralizing some of that yellow in the foundation, and then I'm applying the lightest shade across the center of the face. I'll apply this shade down the bridge of the nose and on the chin as well. And my usual technique is apply with a very small brush, and then I press in the foundation with a sponge. This is what gives me this really natural sort of skin-like finish. I'm going to spray everything with Charlotte Tilbury setting spray, just this first layer. Now I'm applying concealer. I'm using the Makeup Forever HD Cream as concealer because her eyes were drier. I wanted to choose something richer in texture, but I did not set this with enough powder. So you will see, I think you can pick it up on camera closer to the end of the video. Because I didn't use enough powder, it starts to crease. So I should have powdered slightly more than I did here. And you want to remember that when you're using cream products that are not self-setting. In the original look, there wasn't a ton of sculpting and dimension added onto the skin, but just for my personal preference, I do like to have some. Normally I'll use 2 or 3 foundation shades and cream bronzer and things like that to create dimension, but this look is much simpler, so I used 2 slightly different foundation shades that I custom mixed, and this shade of the Patrick Ta Sculpt Cream Contour and Powder Bronzer Duo I'm going to add to just add some shape and definition to the face. Our clients are going to be photographed at all different times of the day, and we do want to make sure they do not look like a potato on camera, so adding dimension is key. There was not a ton of blush used, but I do want to make sure this look lasts. So I'm using the Rare Beauty Soft Pinch Liquid Blush in a really hot pink. You can see that I kind of rub some of it off on my hand and sort of warm up the product before I apply. So this goes on very sheer, very natural. And I like to layer cream underneath powder for longevity. And you can see it just looks really beautiful. I'm setting the perimeter of the face with the powder from the Patrick Ta product. I did apply some more Laura Mercier loose translucent powder, but I think I actually should have baked the under eye a little bit more because the Makeup Forever HD creams are thicker. So that's something for you to note if you're going to be working with this product. I'm using the INGLOT Soap Brow just to groom the brows very naturally. And then zoom in so you can see I'm just filling in the brows with the Senna Brow Powder, again, just on the outer section of the brow. She really likes her brows light and fluffy, so I'm only going in where there's visible bare spots with the powder. A little bit more powder. I really should have just gone for it initially, but I'm always worried when I do a baking technique that it's going to be too much, but in this case, it wasn't enough. A little pass of waterproof mascara on the lashes. Setting the foundation with powder. That lash is driving me crazy. Apologies for that. And then to finish off, I mixed a VISEART blush with an Hourglass highlighter just to give a nice glow and to set everything. I'm using the MAC Prep and Prime lip here. This is great to use, especially with these more sheer lip looks. It just keeps things in place for longer. So how I like to start these kind of stained looks, I'm taking a lipstick. This is just a L'Oreal lipstick. It's a sheer pink, and I'm applying this with a synthetic brush just to get a wash of color, because with these looks, I like to layer the color so they last longer. And then I'm using a more dense brush just to sort of fan out and spread out that lip color. So once I get a base coat on, I'll then take a similar color in a longer wearing lipstick and I'll apply that from the center out. And that way I do get some longevity and the product looks kind of more like a stain and not like an opaque lipstick, which I don't love about some of the liquid lips. But then also just blending that in, that liquid lip in, really does help create that stain and give that staying power. You can just blend as much or as little as you want, and then once you feel like you're kind of done and your lip is on, what I like to do is take a larger synthetic brush, sometimes with a tiny bit of foundation on it or leftover product, and just blend those edges of the lip. Another layer of setting spray. You could do something more heavy duty like the Kryolan if that is awesome for longevity, but I'll leave that up to you and whatever your client is comfortable with. And here's our final look. If it wasn't for that lash, I think it would be great. What I did after filming was just press that lash down right into the lash line to blend it in a little bit better. And here's our before and after. Thanks for watching.